Well, hello, my fellow caramellers. How you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Luka's Builds, and we've got a special one here today. It was featured in the last video about hood props, and I got a lot of people asking about it, and it has kind of showed up here and there on a few other videos over the years, and it has been brought up to my attention is that you guys wanted to see this car. So here, it's getting its own episode of Builds. And this car here, it's a pretty special one, and it's got some stories behind it. So sit back, kiddies, get your popcorn, light the fire, because we got a few stories to tell about this car. It is a very important build for me. To start off, this is the 67 Camaro from Revell that came out, totally new tool, back around, I believe it was 2010, 2009. I don't have the kit information in front of me right now. I probably should have. Anyways, there was a couple of guys, I've talked about them, and you've met one of them, Dave, and you know about Frank. I talk about him all the time. We'd get together once a month and do our little build sessions, and every once in a while, to challenge ourselves, we would come up with a build challenge for us to do, like having an allotted time. We'd pick a particular subject and we'd all build it and wouldn't let each other know, which was the tough thing because we always liked to talk about what we were working on at home, and we weren't allowed to tell one another until we unveiled it on the date. And this was one of those builds. And when the kit came out, we all decided, let's do the same kit. Let's do that new 67 Camaro from Revell. We all headed down to Andy's. We all bought the kit that day, and we went to our little model caves, and we all built our own versions. And of course, Dave did a real wild one, but the weird thing was when we unveiled them, how Frank and I almost built the exact same car. His was green, and mine was this blue one. And we were both going for this 70's hot, street freak or hot rod theme, what you'd see in the streets in the early 70's. And it was kind of interesting that we did that. But the big thing is this was something fun. We did this, but I did this as a personal build that I always wanted to do for a long time, because this car represents a real car that was probably something as a child that really, well, first of all, got my love for these cars, but really boosted my interest in cars altogether. But I fell in love with the first generation F-bodies, whether it be Firebird or this, for two particular cars. A car that we would follow every morning on the way to my dad's work during the summer. He ran a pool, and I would go with him. And every morning, this car would be in front of us. That and the fact that my first riding toy when I was about 3 or 4 years old I got for Christmas, and this was back in the late 60s, I got a 68 Firebird that, so the body shape just really instilled into my brain hard. So that's where my love for these cars, stemmed from. And I just remember I had a Hot Wheel I got that was my favorite Hot Wheel, and it happened to be their custom Camaro, they called it. It was a 68 Camaro, and they actually painted a black top to represent a vinyl top, and it was, that Hot Wheels blue. And so a blue Camaro with a black vinyl top just is really a vision in my head that I've had pretty much all my life, and really has followed me with my love of the car, the automobile. So this car, when we'd go to my dad's work every morning during the summer, it would just seem to be always in front of us, and I would just stare at it. And as soon as this car spins around here, this was such a thing that I focused on and was so fixated with on the Camaros, and right there, this whole black here and these tail lights, I just would stare at that thing when we'd drive down the road. I remember it had big tires, and it was jacked up in the back and all hot rodded. This is kind of like, from my memory, a representation of that car. It's not that car. I don't know much about it. I don't remember if it had side pipes. I don't remember the wheels. I don't remember anything but that it was blue with a black vinyl top, and it had obviously was a big block car. It had the black in between the taillights. And I just, that just became my dream car, my fantasy car as a little kid. And I had that Hot Wheels. And I remember I took model paint and I painted my back end blue or black right there and colored the taillights and all that with the red and the white. And I remember I did it out of memory and I reversed it. I put the white on towards the outside and the red towards the inside on my Hot Wheel way back then. But it was a pretty important car, and I finally was able to, bring that. It was just a perfect pick when we had to do these, that I'm going to do that representation of that car. And then I started to take some of my liberties of, if I was the car owner back in, like, say, 1969, 1970 this would be what I'd do. Or probably a little more towards the, some of the styling is a little more like closer to the mid-70s. We start off with, if you can see under here, you jack this thing up, and we'll show the underside. The whole rear end is red. I just remember guys always painting their rear ends red whenever they jack up their cars in the back, do that street freak look. I went with the side pipes, and I always had this thing about white headers and side pipes, so I did the whole white thing, and we'll get a closer look at that, and you can see I did some weathering to them. I did very basic under the hood. You saw it in the last video, and we'll show it here soon. The hood is out of the box. Everything's pretty well out of the box. I did the whole under the hood as the big block, and all I did was just do basic detail with spark plug wires and a couple things, nothing major. The tires here, these are the tires, I believe they are from the Revell 41 Willys Street Rod. I think they are. I can't remember, but quite honestly, really, these are resin tires. I cast these. I actually tinted the resin, and they popped out of the mold that way, and I put the Goodyear on there. It's a decal, and then I've shown it on a tip video about how to do realistic-looking tires with tire decals. These front tires are from the AMT Baldwin Motion 70.5 Camaro. They're the rear tires, and those are just a tough bias ply looking fat tire that I figure would really work well with these big sticking out the side street freak big tires for the rear. I think it worked good together. And the wheels came from the Willys Gasser, the Revell Willys Gasser that came out in the late 90s. I don't know where the side pipes came from. I believe it was just part box, but the headers are from the 66 flip nose Malibu from Monogram, and we'll look a little closer at those a little later. Other than that, everything else is out of the box. It has a roll bar in it. I think it was in the kit. I can't remember, but I believe that roll bar was in the kit. Everything interior is just basically black, not much to really see in there. A little bit of detail painting and bare metal foiling. Now, let's get to the white elephant in the room. You guys want to know about this right here, the vinyl top. The vinyl top here, that is masking tape. We'll take a closer look here shortly. That is all masking tape. And I masked it off. I first put the chrome strip around the back. When it flips around here, you'll see it. The chrome strip around the back here is just evergreen plastic that I did when the car was in primer. Went ahead and did all my painting. I painted the blue first. I did the vinyl top. I masked it off, and I shot the vinyl with Tamiya through an airbrush with Tamiya semi-gloss black. And it's basically 3 pieces of masking tape. And I am going to do a video on how I did that here coming up very soon. I'm getting prepped for it. So I'll show you how I did that in that video. But when we get a closer look, I think you'll get the idea of what I did. And that's pretty much it. I always like these Camaros when they don't put the front bumper on them. And I did a little bit of body work here to get rid of some of the holes and keep what holes would be on the real car. I believe I removed all the emblems. I don't see emblems. I think this kit came with Camaro script and stuff like that molded onto the body, and I got rid of that. I like the D-badge, the look. But all in all, it definitely got the look I was wanting. Oh, the paint now. Let's quickly talk about the paint. The paint is Tamiya Racing Blue, I think. It's one of their metallic blues. I want to say it's probably the Racing Blue. It is cleared with a PPG clear that I had, out of a gun. It's automotive clear. I see a little hair right there. I'm knocking my model around. We're going for no edit, so you're getting everything the way it is. I buffed it out. I shot the clear, though. I lots of times I will shoot clear out of a gun on some of my models in the past. But this one I wanted to try thinning it down enough to where I could shoot it through my airbrush. So this was all shot with my Iwata Neo. The paint, the blue was shot out of the rattle can. The clear is from the airbrush. And I actually had a little bit, thinned it too much at first, and you can see some pooling down low here. Little yummy here. That kind of sucked, but I got it under control and buffed it down a little bit. Other than that, this thing got a really good shine to it. I didn't really buff the paint much. I just shot the clear and left it alone. I was, doing the kit kind of, I was under a time constraint, so I couldn't spend a ton of time on it. And let's go ahead and switch over, and we'll take a look at the engine, and we'll take a look at the bottom and get a little more detailed look at this car. All right, let's get into the details of this model. Here is the vinyl top. As you can see, it's 3 pieces of material. And what I use, and I'll show you here, let's see if I can get it in view. I use some 3M masking tape like this right here, because if you can see the 3M masking tape, I hope I can get it into view. You can see how it has this texture to it that's very similar to vinyl in scale. And so that's why I went with that. And what I ended up doing was basically just cutting it onto the body into these panels and laying it down. I first started with the center portion, which was just about, I believe, I didn't even have to trim it. I can't remember. But I started out with 2-inch tape, so I'd have plenty of panel space. During the construction of the car, of course, I did, like I said before, the chrome trim. After painting the car, too, mind you, this is all done after painting the blue and clearing. I went ahead and laid the panels down. I did the center first, and then I would do the side panels, and I would just kind of do a slight overlap that would get that seam that you see on vinyl top cars. So it was pretty simple. And then I masked it off and I airbrushed it with Tamiya semi-gloss black. I mean, we get a good shot of those side pipes, just white side pipes. I just wanted them to have a little speckling of rust and grime on there. I wanted this to be a road car. The red rear end that I just remember guys painting their rear ends red whenever you could see them because they jack them up to the moon. I just did with red oxide primer I started with, and then just slowly, did some weathering and just kind of with airbrush did a little bit of the black and then weathered and threw a little rust and speckles. And I've shown that before of how I, get kind of far away. I did a whole video on doing weathering on an underside with little paint effects and speckling of. I do a lot of speckling, holding the aerosol can. Paint can far away and just letting it rain on it. So pretty simple. That's it. No major detail. Just did a little, there's a little bit of rust here and there. It was all paint detail. These are parts box slapper bars, like from the old MPC cars. They had slapper bars with them. A lot of the MPC cars did. And these slapper bars are just perfect. You paint them yellow, done. They look great. Everything else is pretty much the kit. I just kind of brought the rear end, higher or lower depending on your perspective of looking at it, with some just some blocks right here lifting up the whole. That's why you can see the shackles there. See, they get that in the light. Can you see that? Just to give it that hot rod stance, that 70's hot rod stance. Typical Chevy orange, just out of the box. Engine didn't really do much with that. Just painted it. Basically detail with just paint. And if you're familiar with the old monogram flip nose 66 Malibu, those are those headers, side pipes. And I tried to make it look like there was a little weld right there. Let's see if I can get a good close look of them. There's a funny story here. My buddy Master Jackpot, if any of you have watched our little Star Wars rant we did about a year or so ago, he's my pal. He's not a model builder, and he's a slightly bit of a car guy. Great mechanic, really doesn't care much about cars. He's my funny man, and he comes up with this little story. I'll never forget this. Right here, let's zoom into it. I did a little effect, and it just makes for a really funny story. You see that? Well, this right here was from one night. The owner of the car had this date, right? And she's got her high heels on. You know, these girls, they don't care about the cars. And it's like, he says to her, you know, don't step on the side pipes. And she goes, yeah, whatever. I got to get in the car. And she, with her high heels, she nicks it. I hope I'm not offending any of you girls out there. But yeah, it's a manly man joke. But it was funny. And so I said, yeah, I'm putting that on the model. So there's a little nick from some woman's high heel shoes getting into the car, not really caring, and just stepping on the man's side pipes. So let's look at the engine. We kind of saw it before in that other video, but it is, looking at this thing, I believe this came in the kit, or this is the Baldwin Motion air cleaner. Can't remember. I might have taken that out of the AMT Baldwin Motion 70 Camaro, or it came in this kit. I did my little guitar string trick with a return spring, a little bit of fuel line with a regulator and all that, just for fun. Kind of giving some detail, and some ProTech yellow spark plug wires, and I made my boots there. Pretty simple, nothing extraordinary. Didn't do any other detail, but if you look over into here, most of my detail on this model is paint detail. Can we see right there? Look at the detail on the headers. We got a little bit of rust and the nicks and all that would happen to white headers, just painted headers, and just did my different metal colors here just to give a good look. But I didn't even put any wiring to the, I don't think I did. I think it's all paint. Let's look around here. Yeah, I didn't really wire up the battery. Let's get a side shot of this, and you can see, oh, there's even a throttle rod right there, and just the bare necessities to make a pretty decent little bit of detail on the model. And the interior, basically out of the box, there's nothing real special. Oh, look at that. I didn't know, I forgot about that. So I put like a 70's Camaro steering wheel. That was a popular thing to do when the new Camaro came out. You know, so this would probably date this car to be a car riding around like 1975. So the guy put a later model Camaro steering wheel in it. I remember even up into the 80s, that was a popular steering wheel. Kids would get them out of the junkyard and put them in their Chevys. And another nice, good look. Some of the tape is starting to come up over the years, but it still retained a pretty good look. Hey, vinyl tops age, what can I say? There's my taillights. And I pretty much did all hand painting, got in there and did the black. That's something that when people do these Camaros and do taillights, they miss that black that's behind the chrome part of the bezel. In between the chrome and the clear lenses, there's a black trim in there. And that's something that gets missed, and I think that really sets off the look of a taillight and give it a little more of a realism. That's something to think about when you're building these. There's a nice shot of that rear end all red. I never put a license plate on this. I always intended to. Didn't think about that. I need a vintage correct New York State license plate. So that's where that car that inspired this build was at. The wheels, those are the gasser wheels from the Revell 41 Willys gasser, the Big John Masmadium. There's those tires from the back of the Baldwin Motion Camaro, the AMT 71. And these, again, are resin tires. But they were basically from that 41 Willys street rod that Revell put out. And they just got a nice 70s look to them, the way I feel. They're very bias ply looking. And I cast them. I didn't paint them. They're cast in black. And then the decals put on. And then we did some flat clear on them. Looking at the grill, if any of you guys can tell me, is that the I think that is, yeah, because there's clear lenses in there. So this kit did come with this grill. So it's mostly box stock, somewhat box stock. You know, just some wheels and tires and other things. And let's get, you know, as long as I got this light, you can get a good look at the clear of that I used, that automotive PPG clear that I shot with my airbrush. And again, I did not buff this. This is just a couple coats. I probably put 2 or 3 coats on there, airbrush size coats, and that's about it. And there's the hood. So it's not perfect, but again, non-buffed, just out of the gun, done, handled, and finished. Yeah, I gotta find another one of these kits now. I want another one. I do like them. They're pretty cool. I think they did very well with them. And another thing that I like, because I like to build race cars, is I think they had no windshield wipers. Oop, blew the hood off again. No windshield wipers on the cowl, where I gotta sand all the windshield wipers off when I do a race car with the AMT, the old AMT kit. So that also makes it worth where I should go find me some more of these. Hey Revell, if you're listening, why don't you put this kit back out? It was pretty darn good. I liked it. I did enjoy the build. It actually did go together really well. So there it is. That's my childhood fantasy car that I used to see in the neighborhood all the time. And that's my memory. That's what it was. That's what I pictured. And that's what it is. So there you have it. That's the story of this Camaro. It was a fun kit. I wasn't very pleased with Revell's version of this car. There was things about the body I can't remember. There were proportions that I wasn't pleased with compared to the old AMT kit, which I had a ton of those. And I really like the AMT kit, even though the chassis is real simple. But to me, that's a really, really fine kit. But I wasn't real happy with this at the time, I remember, and I didn't bother buying any. And now I kind of want to get a couple more. I look at this car now, and it really does look pretty cool. I don't know what was my fuss. I can't really find it now. But I think I would like to find a couple more of these kits, or it would be cool if Revell put it back out. It is a nice 67 Camaro. I want to thank my producers. You producers are keeping this channel going. I want to thank you. And for you guys who would like to become a producer, go into the description below and you will find a link to my Patreon, and you can become a Patreon producer. And we're going to start doing some more content that's strictly for Patreon, and we'll start doing some videos on there even more so here in the coming months. Get onto my Teespring, buy the shirts, and we got a new shirt that's coming, but it's a secret right now. I'm waiting to get my sample, and I think you guys are gonna like this one. It's kind of a funny one, and it's at the expense of someone else, and we're gonna like it. And it's a positive expense at someone else, guys. So don't start thinking I'm a jerk. Well, I am a jerk, but don't start thinking I am. Put your comments down below. I read them all. I can't answer them anymore. They're getting more and more. They come so fast. So please don't offend if I don't answer you, but believe me, I read it. I read all of them, and I am listening to suggestions and getting great ideas, and that's why I did this, because I got a lot of people contacting me saying they want to see more about this car, because they've seen it in the background. And if you saw any other models that you want me to do, which there is another one that I'm getting requested, we'll cover that later, but it technically isn't my build, so I can't do it as a Luka's builds. But we will show a certain orange, or some people think it's red, mid-70s Z28 that I have on my shelf. We'll get that one soon, guys, I promise. But that's going to have to be a different show because it's not my build. Thanks a bunch for watching. Thanks a bunch for jumping on board with us. Go over to the Facebook group and join if you haven't, because we do more discussion over there, and there are just tons of great models. That is the Luka C Model Car Hobby Headquarters Facebook group. Link in the description below. We'll talk to you later. Go out there and build model cars. Why? You tell me why. Why? Because they're fun. We'll see you later.